group of words which contains a subject and verb. This clause is attached to an antecedent, another clause or another sentence, antecedent, with the help of or else by a relative pronoun or relative adverb or relative adjective is called relative clauses. What do these relative clauses do? Relative clauses or relative pronouns gives extra information, additional information about a noun, which gives an additional information about a noun. Let us take this sentence. This is an example I am telling. We are waiting for Ajit. This is one of the sentence. We are waiting for Ajit. Ajit is from India. What do we have common here? We have the common thing, that is I am talking about Ajit, this particular noun. I am talking about this particular noun. This is a same thing but in different sentences. I am talking about the same person but giving different, like so much of information. Here this is act as a object to the predicate. This is acting as an object to the predicate in the sentence. This is the subject, verb and object. Here in this sentence, this is the subject and this is the verb and this is the object. So here this is the subject, this is the object. So here in these sentences, we are waiting for, I wanted to join these two with the clause, that is who, with a pronoun, because I wanted to replace the noun. So who is from India. I wanted to replace this with a pronoun. So this particular word is called relative clause or relative pronoun. Whenever we are going to talk about, whenever we would like to give additional information about a noun, if that particular noun is a person, then we use relative clause who. Then we use the relative clause who as a relative pronoun who. If this particular noun is a place, then we use here which. If this particular thing talks about the possession or the ownership, then here we use whose. Sometimes in an informal sentences we use that also. You just see, this is the definition. The two sentences can be linked into one. We use a relative pronoun to substitute the common item and join the two sentences in one. We are waiting for Ajit, who is from India. So here we are waiting is the main clause and this is the subordinate clause. Without subordinate clause, the main clause exists. But without main clause, there is no subordinate clause. If we remove the subordinate clause from the sentence, its meaning is still complete. From this subordinate clause or dependent clause, if we remove the main clause, there is no meaning for this subordinate clause. This linking words, we use them as a relative pronouns. Relative pronouns, as I told you, if the link word should be, if it is for the people, then we use who. If it is for the things, then we use which. If it is for the possession, we use whose. If it is, this is no, I'll tell you. This when do we use who as a link word in relative pronoun? Who is always refers to the people and who is used as a subject of the verb. Who is used as a subject of a verb. We are waiting for Ajit. Ajit is from India. We are waiting for Ajit, who is from India. Here in the second sentence, in the second clause, Ajit is from India. Did you get it? So here that is used as a subject. So in that place I use who. I use who. Um, who is used as the subject of the verb, whereas whom is also used as the object of the verb in the relative clause. Suppose the women whom the tall man is talking to is the CEO. Here it is used as an object, whereas whom is used as an object of the verb in the relative clause. Whom is used as an object of the verb in the relative clause. Here the women, the women, the tall man is talking to the women. The tall man is talking to is the CEO. The women whom the tall man is talking to is the CEO. We can talk about a particular, whenever we wanted to talk about a person, if that person is in the subject, used as the subject of the verb, then we use who. If that particular person is used as the object of the verb, then we use whom. Whenever we would like to talk about the things, when we use which is used for things, whether it is a subject or object of the verb, it's immaterial. Whatever is it, we use which. Whose is a relative clause to describe the noun or to describe the ownership of a noun or possession, to show that something belongs to someone or something. To show that something belongs to someone or something. And if you can see, you can observe the common word that. Did you observe the common word that here? So this is used for persons and things, subject and object of the class. Even this linked word that is used for the persons as well as for the things, the object of the class, and after a superlative also. That can be used informally instead of who and which. So in an informal sentences, that can be used in place of who and which. I'll give you one example. I saw something that was around with many colored feathers on it. I saw something. This is one clause. Around, that was around with many colored feathers on it. So I'm just going to talk about something. I saw something which was rounded with many colored feathers on it. I have two clauses. I saw something rounded with many colored feathers on it. This is another clause. And here I'm going to talk about this particular thing. I do not know whether that is a bird or a thing. So in that case, I can use the link word that. I saw something that was rounded with many colored feathers on it. I'm going to talk about particularly a thing. So here in this context, just check the example. Where is the pen I gave you in the morning? Where is the pen is a clause. I gave you in the morning is another clause. I wanted to link these two with the relative pronoun. Where is the pen that I gave you in the morning? I can also say which I gave you in the morning. That is a formal way. That I gave you in the morning. If I use the word that I gave you in the morning, that comes in a informal way. Did you get my point? Where do we use linked pronouns, relative pronouns? Who, whom, which, that, whose. Are you clear with it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So can we go with the relative adverbs? Relative adverbs are the ones which talks about the place, time, and reason. Relative adverbs gives you the information about the place, time, and reason. So to get the information of these, what are the words, link words we use? The link words we use are the relative adverbs when, where, why. If we want to know about the time, then we use the relative clause, relative adverb when. For example, I cannot forget the year when I won the first prize. I cannot forget the year when I won the first prize. I cannot forget the place where I have I found my bag, or else where I found my thing. I cannot forget the place where I grew up. So here I'm talking about the place. I cannot forget the time when I got first prize. I cannot forget the place where I grew up. Tell me why you came late to the class. Here I am talking about, here I am just taking the reason. Here I am taking the reason. Tell me why you came late to the class. I cannot forget, I hope you are observing. I cannot forget the time when I got the first prize. I cannot forget where I grew up. Tell me why you came late to the class. So your relative adverbs gives the information about when, where, and why. You want to use when. When we use when after time words such as any day, time, year, month, or whatever is it. Where after place or place words we use this, and why is used to give to or to specify the reason. These are the link words we use to join the clauses, and these are called relative clauses. We have two kinds of relative clauses. One is, we have two kinds of relative clauses. One is non-defining relative clause. This non-defining relative clause gives additional information about the noun in a sentence. Whenever we are giving a non-defining clause, always non-defining clauses are separated with comma. The new Woody Allen film, which I saw last week, is very good. So the new Woody Allen film, which I saw last week, here that is enough. The film which I saw last week is fine. But why, whether it is good or bad, who has asked you? Nobody asked, but I'm giving the information to you. So this is an additional information. So non-defining, these are called non-defining relative clauses. So non-defining relative clauses supplies extra information. Non-defining relative clauses gives additional information about a person or thing that we are talking about. The information is not necessary to identify the person or thing. Non-defining relative clause is usually separated from the rest of the sentence by comma. So we use in non-defining relative clauses, always we use the relative pronoun who, whom, which, whose, where, and when. The another kind, as I told you, there are two kinds of relative clauses. The another kind is defining relative clause. What is a defining relative clause? Defining relative clause provides essential information about a noun in a sentence. Defining relative clause provides essential information about a noun in a sentence. A defining relative clause gives specific information that helps in identifying the person or thing that we are talking about. The defining relative clause gives specific information that helps in identifying a person or thing that we are talking about. This is the example. You are the man whom I saw last week. You are the man that I saw last week. So here essential information. I'm talking about the man whom I saw last week. Essential. So here there won't be any extra information. So we do not have any common, and we use the link clause or link pronoun. We can omit pronoun if it is not the subject of the relative clause. If, if it is not the subject of the relative clause, we can omit. But that can be replaced with this particular that can be replaced with the whom. I'm sorry, because that is always comes as an informal way. So these are the two kinds of relative clauses. Again, I'm telling you the differences. A defining relative clause identifies which person or thing mean exactly, no additional information, nothing. A defining relative clause. It cannot be left out of the sentence, or the meaning of the sentence is incomplete. It's the book that I read yesterday. Whereas coming to the there won't be any commas. Coming to the non-defining relative things, non-defining relative things all the time provides additional information about the person or thing. The sentences still make sense without non-defining relative clauses. This non-defined is the representative of yours, which acts as a marketing tool. With this, you can create the impression in the employer's mind. So that particular impression would be there in the employer mind forever. So you should see that as we have a saying that first impression is the best impression. So you should see that your CV should serve that purpose. And this is moreover through this document you're going to make a requisition to the employer that you are the right person to take up that particular job, because job is a necessary thing where we always look for. And detail this particular document is talks about the different perspective of yours, which will clearly explain to the employer. In fact, sometimes it is impossible for us to explain or for us to talk about ourselves in front of somebody else. That particular work can easily get it done by this document. This projects the information in a proper way and in the suitable way. How many kinds of CVs we have? There are so many kinds of CVs, like chronological CV, functional CV, combination CV, CV with profile, target CV, mini CV, non-traditional CV. There's so many. But according to our curriculum, we are going to discuss three curriculum materials. One is chronological, the other one is functional, and the next one is combinational. Combinational CV is nothing but is a combination of chronological and functional CV. Coming to the chronological CV, what are the elements we need to incorporate in the chronological CV? Why do we use this chronological CV? We use this chronological CV to draw the attention of the employer to your academic and personal qualification. This clearly gives the perception of your academic and professional qualification, and which will project the summary of your career rather than highlighting a specific aspect. So the entire information of your career will be given, and which also builds a strong history of your work, which can be projected to the employer through this chronological CV. Chronological CV is preferable whenever you do not have any gaps in your academics as well as in the work experience. Then this chronological CV is preferable. Coming to the functional CV is the CV which focus on skills of a person. which focus on skills of a person. It is also used by individuals. The thing is that whenever you have any gaps in the academics, whenever you have any gaps in the experience, then you can prepare this functional CV. So what is the importance of functional CV? Functional CV, the skills will be given importance rather than academics and your professional career. So chronological combinational CV, as I told you before, combination of chronological and functional CV is called combinational CV. Whenever you are going for a specific work, that particular work needs academic skills, work experience, also it needs a skill, the skill in you or extra talent or the skill, then you can prepare this particular combinational CV. Combinational CVs are always prepared for a specific work. So you need to be very careful. Also, sometimes it can be prepared by the fresh graduates, those who have fresh graduates. And whenever you have uninterrupted work history and whenever you have uninterrupted work experience, whenever you have extraordinary skills, you can build this combination CV. There are two kinds of functional CV. One is academic and the other one is corporate. What is academic CV? The purpose of academic CV. The purpose of academic CV is mainly we use this functional CV under academics because whenever we are applying for a position in a student, as a student, either in the universities of to do your MS or so, or is the application or the CV which you give it to get your PG post graduation seat in the particular college also. That during that time you prepare these functional CVs because these are all more details and which focus mainly on the academic achievements. So what are the whether it is a functional CV or chronological CV, we need to know the format of a CV. Chronological CV has a different format and functional CV has a different format. Let us check the format of chronological CV. Chronological CV contains the header, objective, education, honors or activities, work experience, research experience. So your header is nothing but your personal profile. Personal profile, you need not mention your date of birth, your area where you are living at, where you are staying at, where you are residing at, or with whom you are residing, all whether you married or not, all this are in material over there. Here you have to write your name, then your mail ID, your mobile number, and then if there is a possibility, you can give the postal address of your residence. So this information is mandatory, the others are not necessary. Nobody would like to know more about your personal information. So whether it is a chronological CV or functional CV, initially you need to start writing your CV with your name, with your mail ID, with your mobile number. There is a possibility you can give your postal address of your residence. Also, you can add your LinkedIn account, your LinkedIn ID, because LinkedIn ID is for your whenever you update the things over there, the entire world can check it. So if you want to give, you can give your LinkedIn ID as a header. Then objective. What is the need of this objective? This objective, you have to talk about yourself to the employer. How would you like to see yourself in the forthcoming 4 years or 3 years? It should be a short-term goal of yours, and in that you have to say how dedicated you are.